In the 23rd century, most people on Earth live below the poverty line, leading many to accept dangerous jobs such as mining, military service, and off-world space exploration. This space exploration is facilitated by the slipstream, which transforms matter into a data signal, allowing everything to be transmitted to fixed coordinates anywhere in the universe. All trained agents receive a device called Apex, which is fused to the nervous system, enabling the use of the slipstream. However, the method is highly controversial due to the high fatality rate and data corruption. A rookie named Whit begins his new job on the West Coast search and rescue team. His wife Lisa wakes up early to say goodbye, handing him a photo of the two of them and asking him to come home no matter what happens. When Whit is about to leave, Lisa tries to stop him, worried that something bad will happen to him, but Whit promises he will be back for dinner. At the West Coast Slipstream Division, the captain welcomes Whit. The division is united, and after many gear up, the captain orders them out. Before that, he asks Whit and Dave to meet after work to discuss the mistakes made last time, but Whit refuses, saying he promised Lisa he would be home for dinner. Suddenly, an announcement informs that teams 14 through 28 are preparing for a jump. Using a device on his suit, the captain projects a hologram where everyone watches a team jump to a mining site. After a few seconds, the team returns, screaming in terror, with blood streaming down their faces. A warning indicates multiple quarantine breaches, and the medical team rushes to help, but one of them begins shooting at everyone. At that moment, the captain, Dave, and Whit are trapped in a locker room due to the lockdown protocol. The division descends into chaos as the returning teams attack everyone around them. With no other option, the captain orders Dave to grab his jump box, but when he does, the device locks the coordinates onto the Infini mining station, where the insane teams came from. Dave hesitates to go because the place is filling with toxic gas, and they will die if they do not jump immediately. Unfortunately, he cannot input the coordinates into the captain's Apex because he cannot decipher the code. Thus, only Whit and Dave are able to jump, while the captain dies from the poisonous gas. During the jump, Dave disappears in an accident, leaving Whit as the only one transported to Infini. Meanwhile, at East Coast Command, the situation is chaotic, as they receive information about the mining site at Infini, and summon the East Coast Search and Rescue Team to resolve the problem. The team consists of Menzies, Jackler, Huntington, Captain Johansson, Greenwich, Kent, Boxing, and Mannings. The chief explains the situation. Infini is the most remote outpost in the galaxy, known for the worst space disaster in history, where 1,600 workers were killed by a mineral found only on that planet, which proved to be highly volatile. As a result, the location was permanently shut down. After the event, headquarters sent a team to investigate, but an accident resulted in the deaths of team members, leaving only one survivor, a research officer named Montoli. When headquarters attempted to rescue Montoli, he deactivated his Apex to remain in the facility. Worse still, Montoli plans to send loads of dangerous minerals to an undisclosed location on Earth. After a period of slipstream transport, the minerals will be delivered to Earth in 6 minutes. At that very moment, the chief receives news of the fall of the entire West Coast Division. It is discovered that teams 14 through 28 were sent to extract Montoli, but all died except one, Whit, who managed to escape to Infini. Concluding the situation, the officer states that a military approach did not work against Montoli, so they will send the best search and rescue team on the mission. The team must stop Montoli's plans and bring Whit back home. Because of time dilation in space, even though the incident happened only minutes ago, Whit has been on Infini for a week. Worse, his supplies are beginning to run out. At that moment, the team uses the slipstream to head to Infini, wasting no time and immediately embarking on the mission. Johansson orders Boxing and Jackler to search for Whit, while Menzies, Greenwich, and Kent search for the cargo. Mannings, Huntington, and the captain head toward the generator. After everyone receives their instructions, they move out. The team finds several bodies around, and Menzies' group locates the cargo, beginning to work on the control panel to discover which power source Montoli will use to transport the loads through the slipstream. Meanwhile, Johansson's group also reaches the generator. At that exact moment, Huntington begins working on it while Mannings keeps watch. Mannings is horrified to notice human skin and limbs scattered around the place. Shortly after, Huntington manages to power up the generator, activating the facility. As soon as the computer boots up, a message appears asking the team to identify themselves. Johansson replies that they are the search and rescue team assigned to a mission. Johansson types that they are there to rescue Widla. Suddenly, steam begins to pour out, and the station goes into lockdown. In another part of the station, Boxing's group finally makes contact with Widla. After some time, Witt disables the lockdown protocol, and the entire team gathers in a room with him. Witt apologizes, explaining that he needed to be sure they were not like the others. He reports that the mining station turned into a massacre because the miners were not killed by an explosion but infected with something mysterious. The infected become extremely strong, brutal, and difficult to kill. Witt suspects the infection spreads from person to person through blood. He tried to return home using the slipstream but failed, so he hid and blew up the external ducts, killing everyone in the station. He is traumatized and emotionally scarred by what he endured. Mannings questions the skin and body parts he saw earlier, but Witt swears he had nothing to do with it. Huntington then asks how he managed to activate the entire station. Witt reveals that the facility operates on binary codes. Hearing that, Kent asks if he can permanently shut down the cargo. At that moment, Witt realizes that the search and rescue team is not there just for him. He panics, and Jackler immediately comforts him, promising they will take him home. Convinced, Witt begins working and discovers that the cargo is headed for the Pacific Ocean near San Francisco. However, he needs someone to go down to the boiler room and force the override. Menzies volunteers for the task, and Johansson orders Jackler and Greenwich to accompany him. Witt then asks them to look out the window, opening the curtains. The team sees many wind turbines powering the station. After some time, Huntington approaches Witt to ask if he is infected, and Witt insists he is not. At that moment, he initiates the procedure to override the cargo. When the time comes, Witt orders Menzies and Greenwich to close the valves. Finally, they manage to shut down the cargo. Johansson orders them to the control room to regroup, but they do not notice an infected person watching them. She attacks Johansson with an axe, and Mannings immediately shoots the infected creature. Hearing the commotion over the comms, Jackler and Greenwich decide to return, but Menzies remains in the boiler room. Kent and Boxing rush to help Johansson, while Huntington watches in terror. When Mannings shouts for him to help, he decides to assist, but unfortunately the infected creature is not dead and attacks Mannings. During the struggle, Mannings strikes the infected in the head, splattering her blood on all of them. The infection spreads immediately, but Witt fights against it as best he can. Seeing that the others are beginning to go insane, he warns Menzies over the comms to find somewhere to hide. Then Witt runs and jumps to the other side of the station, but he cannot hold on to the poles and falls. Luckily, now partially infected, he survives the fall. However, Kent, who is beginning to lose his sanity, is hunting him down, blaming Witt for the deaths of their companions. When Kent is about to reach Witt, the infected Jackler attacks and kills him. As soon as Jackler leaves, Witt grabs Jackler's weapon. After a while, he finds a laboratory and tries to find a cure for the infection, but fails miserably. What he discovers instead shocks him. Upon seeing several mineral samples, Witt learns that the mineral is actually a frozen organic life form, a parasite called primordial sludge by a researcher. Its basic instinct is predatory, which is why all infected people go insane immediately. Although the infection spreads quickly, some people can resist longer, like Witt. These individuals show advanced emotional stability. The previous record of resistance was 2 hours. To make matters worse, the parasite replicates any organic matter it attaches to, which means that given enough time, it can replicate an entire human being. Furthermore, Witt learns that the parasite's ultimate goal is to become a dominant cell, an alpha. The researcher who conducted the study was Montoli. At that moment, Witt hears a noise outside, and upon checking its source, is surprised by Menzies attacking him from behind. He asks Witt if he is infected, to which Witt lies, saying he is not. However, Menzies still doubts him and says he was on the other side of the station when the infection spread. Menzies asks what is happening, and Witt takes him back to the laboratory to explain everything. Menzies asks how they can stop it, but Witt points out that they cannot. The only thing they can do is return to Earth and report about the planet so that no one ever comes back to Infini. Unfortunately, only Johansson and Huntington can contact headquarters, but now Johansson is dead and Huntington is already infected. When they are about to start planning their next steps, Manning's already infected lunges at Menzies. Witt points his gun at him and orders him to stop, but Manning's also draws his weapon, aiming at Menzies and ordering Witt to lower his piece. Witt has no choice but to put his gun down. Manning's then says he can see Witt. Confused, Witt asks what Manning's is talking about, but he does not answer, and in a fit of rage blames Witt for bringing them to Infini. When he is about to kill Menzies, Witt appeals to him, saying he can choose not to kill Menzies because he is his friend. Menzies also begs, mentioning that he has a daughter waiting for him. Hearing that, Manning's replies that life is worthless without choices. Suddenly, he shoots himself. Unfortunately, some of Manning's blood splashes onto Menzies' face, and knowing that Menzies may become a problem later, Witt kills him. After some time, Witt begins to hallucinate, seeing himself as one of the crazed infected. Although he manages to resist the parasite, he begins to suffer mentally. A little later, he finds Huntington infected recording a message for his children. Witt points his gun at him, ordering him to take him home, but Huntington simply ignores him. After sending the message to Earth, he tells Witt to sit down. It seems he is like Witt, able to resist the infection longer since he had contacted headquarters earlier. However, it will still take 8 hours before they are retrieved from Earth. Upon hearing this, Witt panics, telling Huntington they will not survive 8 hours. As the two think about what to do, the infection slowly consumes them. They begin to talk like drunk men, shouting, laughing, and threatening each other. In the end, Witt decides to go alone to the medbay. Meanwhile, in medbay, Greenwich tries to cure herself because she is a doctor, but she is also infected, although she does not become a killer like Witt and Huntington. Looking in the mirror, she sees scales growing on her back. A nearby noise signals Jackler's arrival, his arm also transforming into a monstrous limb. He approaches, and the two share an emotional moment, as Greenwich and Jackler are in a relationship and expecting a baby. However, when Greenwich realizes she is infected, she is forced to terminate the pregnancy. This enrages Jackler, leading to a fight. Returning to Witt, he is surprised to see Huntington following him in a strange manner. Upon reaching medbay, they see what happened there. In their minds, it seems the parasite infecting them all has a hive mind. They find Greenwich wounded, and Witt immediately asks what they can do to slow the infection. However, Greenwich says the parasite is too intelligent, and that the only way to escape it is through death. At that very instant, she dies. Now only the two of them remain. Huntington suddenly points his gun at Witt, and the two fight. When he has the chance, Witt escapes, descending a ladder to get away from Huntington. He communicates with the parasite clinging to the ladder, and it follows him. Witt ambushes him, and the fight continues. The parasite now fully controls Huntington and wants to kill Witt, but the fight ends with Witt breaking Huntington's neck. Exhausted and slowly succumbing to the infection, Witt looks at Lisa's photo. After resting briefly, he returns to medbay and records a message for the parasite. His voice echoes through the station as he warns the parasite that it failed by choosing to exploit people's hatred, because that only results in reciprocal murder. Therefore, the parasite will not be able to learn more about humanity. However, if the parasite had only had the patience to evolve without hurting anyone, everything would have been different. He goes on to say that he only wanted a better life for his family, which is why he is on Infini, but due to the parasite's selfish desire for domination, he will not be able to return. Remembering Lisa and the baby, Witt prepares to end everything, cutting his wrist as his message repeats on a loop. The bodies of the search and rescue team begin to be covered by the minerals, forming a pool from which a human figure emerges. Finally, all the blood from Witt's wrist returns to his body. Then suddenly, Witt wakes up with everyone around him alive and well. Greenwich tells them that Johansson wants to meet with them in the control room as soon as possible. Witt wonders what is happening, but Mannings tells him the parasite is gone. In reality, the parasite healed all their wounds and brought them back to life. Before joining the group, Whit checks the laboratory and notices the mineral samples are missing. In the control room, everyone is silent and still disturbed by what happened. Not knowing exactly what occurred or having an explanation, the team agrees to simplify their stories. Once back on Earth, they will ensure that no one ever returns to Infini. Fortunately, the cargo was destroyed, and they managed to rescue Whit. Therefore, all their objectives were achieved and the mission was a success. Captain Johansson asks Whit one last time if he has anything to say to the group, and Whit replies that he has nothing to add. Hearing this, the team prepares to use the slipstream back to Earth. In the last second before being transported, Whit sees 5 humanoid forms made of minerals, and one of them is holding the photo of Lisa and Whit. As soon as they return to Earth, medical professionals wearing personal protective equipment immediately begin asking questions about themselves. Everyone panics, as if they cannot believe the team is back intact. They also question the team whether they were exposed to strange contaminants from the other planet, and they all answer in unison that they were not. All members of the East Coast search and rescue team are released, but the professionals cannot obtain a scanning reading of Whit. The chief asks again whether he was exposed to contaminants, but Whit does not respond, and the tension rises. Fortunately, a scan reading appears, and he is finally cleared. Upon hearing this, everyone feels relief. Although it has been a very long day for Whit and the others, they have been away from Earth for only 52 seconds. Afterward, Whit goes home and reunites with Lisa. They are very happy to see each other. The film ends with Lisa and Whit in tears, as she reveals that she received the news that he was already dead.